Hello, it's Mark here for GAK, and today I am with Matt from Teenage Engineering.
Hey.
And we are looking at the OPZ.
Yes, we are.
Is this a new product? Has this been around long?
It's been around about a year now. It's been in production for a while, and then came out last year, but they've built in some updates along the way.
And it's got a new feature, which is the sampling.
Yes,
it's got
that's
a new
right.
thing
Yeah, yeah.
that's added to it, which we're going to take a look at today. So I am a bit of a novice when it comes to these. I look at them and I'm like, okay, I really want to be able to use that, but it looks a bit confusing. So it's probably best if you kind of take me and everyone watching through it.
Yeah, of course.
And just kind of give us an overview of what everything does, and I'll leave it with you.
Okay, cool. So the OPZ is a multimedia sequencer. So it sequences music, as well as visuals, lights, and now it does sampling. It looks a little confusing at first, but there is like a method to the madness. They're a design company primarily, so a lot of things start to make sense in really pleasing ways.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So each of these buttons here is like part of the 16-step sequence. And then this is a keyboard here, but they do have other uses as well. So you see these little symbols here above the track buttons. Each one of those is a different track. So you've got the percussion tracks here, kick, snare, hat and percussion, and some samples. And then you've got the melodic tracks here. So you've got bass, lead, arpeggiator, and chord. So you've got building blocks for a track. And then on this side, you've got two effect sends. You've got the tape looper. You've got a master section, performance track, a module track, which is used to control either MIDI settings, or you've also got the OpLab module, which is in there too, which has just come out a few months ago.
Okay.
And then you've got the lighting track, which controls lights, and the motion track, which works with the app that you can get on iOS.
There's a lot packed into it, isn't there?
There is
tiny little beast.
an awful lot, yep.
A lot you can do with it.
So, just as an example, we'll start off by, I don't know, putting in like a kick drum. So, we've got to select it first. So you've got this track button here. When you hold it, it gives you access to a whole load of different tracks, and then the sounds that are in them and the presets. So if we take the kick drum track and we're on this sample pack here, I'll just get rid of those just as show you how it works. So the keyboard, each of these keys has a different sample on it.
And this comes with inbuilt samples?
Yeah. So all the packs that are here, there's a few different ones, and they all come preloaded.
But you can obviously load your own.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can load your own either via, there's something called the drum utility, which you can download, OP1 drum utility, because it uses the same sample engine, or a very similar sample engine to how it works on the OP1.
Okay.
So all you need to do is download that for free, and then load in your samples into each of the key positions, which relate to the key positions on here too. And then you can load it into the project folders that are in there.
Okay.
So it's not super straightforward, but it does make sense, and there's tutorials on it and instructions.
I was going to say, I'm sure on YouTube you'll find
absolutely
how to do all that stuff.
But yeah, you've got loads to be getting on with to start off with. There's about 5 or 6 different kick drum packs to begin with, and then you've got snares and hats and percussion and all sorts.
Yeah.
So as you're sort of pressing them, you can kind of scroll through and find something you like. So say you like that.
Yeah.
It remembers the last one you pressed, so you can just program in a beat like that. I'm just going to mute those off to start off with. So now it's just going to play it back to you. And you can add in more. Or you can take them out as well. And you can also punch record them as well.
Cool.
So you've got a couple of different ways that you can record it.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so and each of those tracks works in a very similar way. So if we go to the snare, it's a similar sort of thing. If we get rid of those and just find something we like, and then just program it in and unmute it as well. It's always good. So now you have a really, really simple beat.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take long to kind of program in some extra points.
Can you whack hats on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So another way to record, and we'll do this in a different way, you can step record as well. So while it's not playing, you can hold record, and you can kind of sequence in
Okay.
that, and then we'll unmute that.
And so you want to turn the volume of the hats down?
Yep.
That's
So
civil.
this is where the jog dials come in. So these ones at the top here.
Yep.
So rather than like rotary encoders or knobs, they've gone for these jog dials, which look a bit like strange, but like they're really, really satisfying to use.
When I first saw it, and I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah.
I was just like, what are they like? Is it almost like plugs or like? I
Well,
didn't realise.
The top of them is like a. It fits like a Lego cross axle, so you could put in like Lego Technics and create your own sort of like contraptions with it.
That's cool.
The designer loves Lego.
Really? Is that why?
Yeah, yeah. So that's why you get kind of the Lego attachments for the OP1 and
That's
stuff.
crazy.
So
Okay, yeah.
the way that they work is that there's 4 of them. They're different colours, and then there's LEDs next to them, which I don't know if you can see on the camera there. But they basically correspond to where the encoder is. So they don't have like a central indent or an obvious like middle point, because some of those parameters will have that like panning.
Yeah.
So instead what they do is they go dark when they're turned all the way down, and then they're light when they're turned all the way up.
Yeah.
And when they get to the end, they do that little, and it's kind of hard to show it, there's a little double flash. But this one's relating to pitch at the moment, so if we put it back to the middle, it should flash green when it reaches it there.
Okay.
But actually kind of tweaking them and using them as you're performing or writing is really satisfying, because they're very, very precise and they're very quick.
You said
at
that
the
was
same time.
pitch?
Yes.
How do you know what they are?
I've kind of had to memorize them.
Okay. Can you change what they do?
You can, yes. So they are all locked to certain parameters, but there are 4 different pages for each one.
So you know which one's volume?
Yes. So for that, it's on the mixer page. So each of these encoders LED will change color as you go through the menu, and if you're colorblind, it does have the menu number pop up. So if I press shift, they change to green, and then 2 flashes up, meaning we're on the envelope. So we'll get there. So we've got the envelope, we've got the purple menu, which is LFO, and then yellow, which is the mixer page. And then this one relates to volume.
Okay.
So it's, for each of those tracks, you kind of have to zip through to that, but there are other ways to kind of set that up which are a bit quicker, or to make changes quicker, but we'll just go with that for now. So if we just play it, you can do that, or if we change the pitch a bit, and then if we change the envelope a bit as well, so bring down the sustain, which is the yellow. So now it's sort of less of those hats and more kind of like grainy.
I'm into it.
Cool. So that's programming, basically programming drums. There's a few more elements to it, but probably won't get into everything in this, because there is a lot.
Have you guys got on your YouTube, have you guys got like how to do that stuff?
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of tutorials out there. I think Teenage Engineering have done some, Sound Technology, and then YouTube guys all over the place. And
there'll be loads of people on it.
Yeah, guys and girls.
If you want specifics, then go and look at that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, there's a ton you can do with it, this thing. What really interests me is the new sampler feature.
Yes. So with the latest update, which happened, I think it was last month now, they basically put in the sampler. So there's a built-in mic in the end of the unit. And a lot of people have been asking for a long time, like, when is sampling coming? Because the OP1 can do it, the Pocket Operator, the KO can do it as well. And because it has a mic in, it's like, come on. So it's here now. And the way it works is very similar to the OP1, but we'll go through it in full anyway, for people who haven't used it before. There's two different types. So on those drum tracks, you've got drum sampling. So what that will do is you'll record up to 12 seconds and then you can slice it across the keys so that you can chop it all together. And then melodic sampling, where with the synth tracks, which we haven't touched on just yet, it takes one sample up to about 6 seconds as a max, but then it pitches that across the keyboard. So you can kind of tune it to whatever it is that you're doing with your project and then play it like a melodic instrument.
Nice.
But we'll go through how to do that now, I guess. So where should we start? Like with the drum sampler?
Way, so.
I think we'll do that because we're going to get out a guitar in a minute, aren't we?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So if we go on the sample track here, so for those of you that do or don't know, when you hold the track button, you have these slots here. And each of these has a different plug. So either that means like a synth engine or like a sample pack. And until recently, it's been fairly fixed. Like if there's one that's not lit up, like 9 or 0 here, it means it's empty and you can't do anything with it. But now, with the sampling, you can actually create your own custom sample pack on there. So if we do that, so if we hold that track button and hold 0, there's a little animation there that runs through. And now we've got a user sample pack. To start off with, it's going to be like a sort of stock sound. So they've put in like a default sound.
This is the default user sound.
Nice.
So
did there.
yeah, kind of explains where you're at. So you've got that sample pack and it's got a sample in it so you can kind of hear it working, so you know it's there. But now you have to put it into sampling mode, which is an entirely new thing. Most of the menus from this are accessed by holding a button like the project button up here. You can see what pattern you're in and what project you're in and which chain you've got active at the moment, as an example. But this mode is more like a separate mode that you work specifically with samples in. So to do that, you hold stop and you hold record, and you'll notice these little green and blue lights come up. And they correspond to the start and end points of the key that's flashing. So when you press it, that's where it starts. But if I turn the green encoder to go with the green light,
sample enter,
it takes the start point further back in the sample, and then equally the blue
takes it forward.
sample enter.
So you can basically record your sound, which we'll get to in a sec, chop it up, and like put in your start and end points for each key, so that you can create yourself a whole kit. So that's the drum sampler mode. If you go into one of the melodic tracks, it works in very much the same way, except you're only working with one sample. So you have more controls for pitch and for setting things like loop points, so you can get a sound to like sustain before you release the note.
So there's a bunch you can take a sound and then do an absolute bunch with it.
Yeah, I think it's probably just thinking about exactly what you're capturing and then going, do I want to slice this up or do I want to play it like a keyboard? And that's the way to work with it, really.
Okay, let's create some magic.
Cool. Okay, wicked.
So I've grabbed a Fender Ed O'Brien, which we had back there. Matt's gonna point it at the amp, which is just off camera. One of these might be picking it up, and you're gonna record what I'm gonna play. I'm just gonna jam something, and then you're gonna make magic out of it. It's literally the idea.
I hope so.
So as you know, it doesn't really matter too much what I play because you can completely rip it apart and put stuff everywhere and pitch shift. So
and run it through the effects in here as well.
Cool. All right. Well, if you want to point that at the amp.
Okay. 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Good.
Yep.
So that's all we need.
Let's see how that
has
come out.
Okay, so it's literally that easy. You just point it.
Yep, pointed it, held the record button. You can set the gain as well if you've got something quiet or loud. But in this case, we've got a nice amp over there, so we just turn it up a little bit. And then it just chops it automatically. So you've got each bit.
So it spreads it out
Yeah,
over that.
fairly evenly, I would say, because you can hear it's not in time. But that doesn't matter, because what we can do is we can trim up
Yeah.
the samples.
I mean, for demo purposes,
Yeah.
I mean, chop that around as much as possible. Let's play with it.
Okay.
Have a good old
Cool. Let's see what we've
work
got
your
there.
magic. So what you're doing is you're removing those clicky bits in between.
Sort of. I mean, not all of them are disappearing, but like I'm literally just finding snippets of audio that we can then assign to the keys and do something with. So, like in the way that if you had like I don't know, an MPC or using software to chop up a sample, it's just making those slices kind of prepared for whatever you're doing. So we'll try and find something to do with that. So coming out of sample mode, you just press, because you can't actually play the sequencer from sample mode, you just have to work with the sample, which is good, because actually working with the sample while you're playing around, it could mess up the entire workflow or the entire pattern that you're doing. So it's good to kind of separate those two elements out, in my opinion. You press stop and then you're back in sequencer mode. So we've been chopping around with it a bit. So we've got some different, I've pitched them differently as well. So we got something there.
Nice.
Let's just work with that for now. Where would I go to? Yeah, okay. So we're going to need to change this tempo here a little bit, I think. We can actually change the, so it is 16 steps, but we can change that as well if we want to. So you've got multipliers for each of the sequences. I want to point out as well, each one of these sequences is totally individual of the rest. So, for example, if you have 16-step pattern that's doing the kick drum, you could have a 32-step pattern that's doing the hi-hat, so
That's
you can
cool.
get some variation.
Yeah.
But it also means things like you can have, rather than 16 steps locking you into like a really quick succession of chords, you could stretch that out to be like 64 steps, so 4 bars.
Yeah.
So you can have like a 4-bar chord sequence, things like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Without having to keep duplicating and multiplying everything else. So let's put that on there, and then that's more what we're going for. Then we can put in like a kick drum or something. So we've got that beat in from earlier.
Nice.
And now we've got...
I'm in.
Yeah.
Sold. Okay.
So we've got that. I wonder if there is anything else we can do with that very quickly to add something, because there's some other like good stuff in there, not the snares. Oh, wow. So we could change the pitch of one of them. Ooh. That might be like an interesting variation. So what I've done there, I've changed the pitch for that one note. And the way that you do that, if you hold one of these steps, so if you press it, it'll disappear, but if you hold it and then change parameters, it does what's called parameter locking. So you can change a parameter for just one step.
Yep.
So you can get some really cool like variation stuff happening very quickly.
Okay.
Okay.
So say you want to build a track.
Yeah.
So you want to put some bass down.
Yeah.
Rather than grabbing a bass,
Mm-hmm.
has it got like synths and inbuilt
Yeah.
basses and stuff? So you could just add like a low bass on using the keys on this, right?
Yeah. If we hold the track button here and then we go to the bass track, A lot of these synth engines are the same, but it kind of organizes them into like presets and usable stuff for that specific instrument. So with bass, there's a lot of the ones that lend themselves to kind of like low-end sounds and monophonic stuff. So we could go with something like that, I guess. We're looking at the... I'll just put down on. Wow, that's not the right note. I'm going to start that again.
I'm going to leave that in though, just so everyone knows that you messed up.
This is why it's so easy to remove all that. I probably should have demonstrated how to like delete the track. If you've done something that's terrible, you can hold stop and track. And then that clears the track, just the track that you selected. So everything else is still there, but if you really mess something up...
And if you did it again, would it delete the last thing you did prior to that?
It sort of just deletes whatever's on there. It just clears it totally.
What if you accidentally delete something? Can you bring it back?
Well, you can, but basically the way it works is it automatically saves everything. Okay. So you can switch that off. Yeah. But it means that if you're working on an idea and then maybe the power runs out, maybe you just switch it off when you meant to turn the volume down or something like that. Like it has saved everything up until the last point. And there are two ways that you can save it. You can turn off the automatic save so that you manually have to save it. Yeah. Which why
would you do that?
I think is these two here. So when you hold that, now that track button goes red. It means that you have to manually hold the pattern to save it when you're holding this project button here.
I guess it's safer to have it on autosave, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I prefer using it that way. And you can also, and a much, I guess, simpler way, is you can take a snapshot. So if you hold this project button again and then hold plus, so you hear that now, but what happens if I get rid of the hi-hat? So if I hold those two, so now I've deleted that, but I'm like, no, I do want that. You hold project minus and it drops it back in there. So if you're fiddling with any mix settings like level or like the filters that are on there, you could really, really mess a sound up. Or the synth sounds as well, like the synth engines that you can change. You can just, when you're happy, you save a snapshot, mess around with it. If you're unhappy with where it's going, you just load the snapshot back on there and you're back to square, not quite one, but ahead of it because you've already been working on it.
Yeah, that's useful.
Right, let's do this bass line. Right. We're going to use a multiplier because I've forgotten that I'd done that with the other one. And I'm going to practice a bit. Where is that? There's that note. So it's there, and it's there. I've done it wrong again. But we can change the notes, which is...
I was going to say, surely you can just pitch shift the notes.
You can. So when you hold that button there, you can see the note, and it plays it back to you as well. I did that on purpose to demonstrate that feature.
Sure you did, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And you know what? My timing probably wasn't great either. So another useful thing that it has that's very quick to use is quantize per track. So hold the track button, turn the yellow dial here, because it changes the way it works when you hold the track button. And this becomes a quantize, but it's continuous. So rather than, like if you put in a beat that's kind of loose and you want to tighten it up, but you don't want it to be like on the dot, you can just sort of guide it back into place. Yeah. And then that way you've got something that feels a bit more natural.
Great, sweet, great. Cool. As you said earlier, like you can record anything. You said like, let's get a pen and tap that cup and put that in.
Yeah, let's do that.
I want to do that.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So
let's get a melodic.
You keep the cameras rolling.
Okay.
I've got something better than a pen. I have
very good
a metal rod for you.
Nice.
So.
Have at it. All right, so we've got the lead track there. We create an empty slot. Put it into sampler mode.
We literally just do this.
Yep. And then I don't mind doing it, that's fine. Let's just hope it doesn't feed back. That was alright, wasn't it? Might be a bit loud.
That's a good hit.
Right, so we'll trim that up.
Imagine if you're doing this in your parents' house.
Yeah.
They're probably like, God, he's fucking...
Need like a soundproof box, really.
Like, Matt, put those headphones in.
Yeah. Right. So we can also tune it to the scale we need to as well. We've got a test tone there. So we can...
A test tone?
So that's an A, 440 hertz. So that just allows you to then tune the sample so that...
Is that what key we're in?
It's not necessarily the key, but if you press the A key and then you're pressing the note and then you tune it in with the yellow knob, which is pitch, and then these do semitones, the plus and minus buttons here, then you should have something that's roughly in tune when we go back, hopefully.
That's cool.
So you can put that through the effects with the mixer page. There you go. So you've got some delay.
Can we pitch shift that a bit higher?
What the...
The cup.
Yeah, there you go. It's now nice and sparkly now. So what I did there was, if you hold shift, you can shift the octaves. And then there's also effects on there that you can run it through, which is kind of the fun bit. So the tape looper, which is a bit mad, can do all sorts of performance things. That's always a fun one.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. You can change key as well, but we probably would avoid doing that this time, just because the samples might not all align with each other, the way that they work. But it essentially shifts the whole thing between different keys very quickly. But we've got some performance stuff on here. You can completely just wreck it. Oh God. Yep.
That's cool though. Like.
Yeah. There's some more like tasteful ones in there. So like the first octave does all the drums and percussion, and then the second octave on the performance track does all the kind of melodic stuff. But there's some more which are, like this one I think is totally random usually. It was sounding pretty tuneful today. When I was on the train doing some stuff, it was sounding pretty awful on the way here, so...
It's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's endless, isn't it? Like, the thing's endless, like what you could do.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
we could sit here for the next hour just like... Would you say it would take long to learn the basics?
No, I mean, there are a lot of combinations to remember. They do a free app, which if you are kind of a bit lost, you can load that up on like iPad or iPhone and basically...
It tells you.
Yeah, it gives you a layout of what each of these parameters are linked to and color codes it as well. So when you cycle through these menus like I was talking about earlier, it will show you how that's hooked up.
Is it like a live connection?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, and it works both ways as well. So if you have the app and you just wanted to like grab the effects end, you could literally just choose it and then turn it up. And there is a video that Soundtech have done on that and how that works. And that's where the visuals come from as well, like the photo sequencer and the Unity graphics engine that you can build environments and create visuals for your music.
I'll link a load of stuff in the description box below, and so all of that stuff and overviews and stuff you've done. Cool. And price-wise, what are we looking at roughly? See it changes,
so these retail, I think, at $529.
Okay, cool.
But I think for that you get a hell of a lot.
Hello, lot.
You get
Versatility.
basically a tiny little performance machine you could turn up. Sort of, what's the word? Theoretically, you could turn up with this and do a whole live.
Is anyone doing
audio
that?
Visual.
Is there any artists using this?
I haven't seen anyone super high profile doing it yet, but I don't think
There you
it'll
go.
be. I don't
Gap in
think
the market.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that long. There's certainly a load of people on YouTube, Instagram, and stuff like that and a lot of people who are doing a lot of live performances.
So the other thing, the other unit is the OP1.
Yeah.
And I know I saw a video today of someone doing the differences between the two, which I'm sure there's a few, and there's a lot, and obviously they're different products.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure I've seen a few people using that one, and that's obviously been around for a lot longer. So as you said, I'm sure it's not long before this will be picked up and smashed out.
Yeah, I mean the OP1 had been around for quite a while, you know, and it only seems like the last few years that people have cottoned on to like the amazing sound engines and the depth of it for such a small battery operated device. You know, there's a lot of high profile people who've been using that. Like Bon Iver is like a really big example of that.
Is he using it?
Yeah. So
have you shipped him one of these yet?
Oh, I mean,
right here, mate. There's a free one.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I'm sure he'd love it.
I'm sure he would, but I think it's sort of gained a lot of traction to the point where, you know, it's been really hard for people to get hold of them even. So, but they are back they're in good supply now. So
good. That's what we like.
There's plenty of those out there. But yeah, they're two different machines really. Though this is more of a sequencer really. There is sequencing stuff on the OP1 too, but it's quite different. It's quite a different way of working because you've got like a virtual 4-track tape recorder. So you've got like a little home studio inside your OP1 that allows you to record your synth sounds and your drum sounds and your samples.
It's got a screen and everything, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. The big thing with this is lack of screen, which some people don't like, but I think actually it forces you into this mode where you're thinking more in depth with what you're doing.
I like that.
You're reinforcing your muscle memory, and actually things like the OP1, they do have a screen which helps you they give you visual cues. They don't really tell you exactly what's going on though. Yeah. And you're still using your ears a lot more than you're using the screen to guide you.
I can't remember how small it is as well. I mean, it's tiny, isn't it? You can see it like next to my hand, and it's like, what does it remind me of? Like an old 80s. Is it like PlayStation or Game Boy or something? Super retro.
It's is that kind of thinking that goes into the design of it. You know, this kind of OPZ design is supposed to appeal to people who, you know, grew up gaming with like
80s, 90s
Nintendo stuff, and
and Lego.
And Lego, absolutely.
It's got to be about the Lego.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming in.
No problem.
Yeah. For any more information, click the links below. I've been Mark. You've been Matt. And we shall see you very soon.